There is something unusual about toads. Perhaps it's their warty skin or the way they seem to glide through the water. But there is no doubt that these creatures are intriguing. In this video, we'll be going to take a closer look regarding this animal. We'll learn more about their habits and what makes them unique among amphibians. So let's get started. Scientific name: Buffo. While most species live a solitary life, it is common for them to congregate in large numbers during the breeding season. Buffo, from Latin bufo, toad. It is one of a group of closely related animals that are descended from a common ancestral line of toads and which form a species complex. The European common toad, Buffo, seems to have arisen more recently. 9 to 13 million years ago, Buffo equaldi, a recently described species from South Azerbaijan and Iran, split from the main lineage. Formerly, the genus Buffo encompassed many species and was divided into several subgenera. The latest include 17 extant species. Various subspecies of B. buffo have also been recognized over the years. They inhabit open countryside, fields, crops, parks and gardens, and often occur in dry areas well away from standing water. The common toad is the fourth most common amphibian in Europe. These animals can't bear colder environments, therefore cannot be found in colder regions of Scandinavia, Iceland or Ireland. The common toad can reach between 15 cm in length and weigh in between 20 to 79 grams. Its grayish-brown skin, covered with wart-like lumps, allows it to be hidden. Other physical features include a broad head with a wide mouth and two small nostrils, protruding yellow or copper-colored eyes, and no noticeable neck. The common toad moves with a slow, ungainly walk or with short jumps. Toads have dry, leather-like skin, a bit different from frog. This is a characteristic toad stance and is designated to make themselves appear too big to be eaten. This technique may put off snakes that swallow their prey whole, but other predators such as birds are unlikely to be deterred. All is not lost, however. As a secondary form of defense, toads have a secret weapon. They can secrete an unpleasant toxin known as bufagin that is not only unpalatable to potential predators but also toxic. Toads are amphibians but spend far more of their time on dry land than their closely related cousins, the common frog. They usually only seek out water when breeding and tend to prefer deeper bodies of water than frogs. During summer and autumn, they feed to fatten themselves up for the barren months of winter. They don't hibernate, but during the winter, they will become largely inactive, lying low in self-excavated dens, emerging during warmer spells to find any food they can to see them through to springs. The toxins produced by them are bufotalin, bufalitoxin, bufotoxin, which is toxic to dogs if ingested, but for humans it is mildly toxic or maybe in some cases non-toxic. Toads are not fussy feeders, and they will eat almost any small creatures that they can catch. Toadlets feed on ants and other tiny insects. Adult toads can manage larger meals, and their diet includes insects, spiders, slugs, and worms. Being slow-moving, toads generally hunt at night and rely on stealth to get close enough to their prey. Many toads are killed by traffic while migrating to their breeding grounds. In Europe, they have the highest rate of mortality from roadkill among amphibians. The major threat it faces include loss of habitat locally, the drainage of wetland where it breeds, agriculture activities, pollution and mortality on roads. Rather than fighting for the right to mate with a female, male toads may settle disputes by means of the pitch of their voice. Croaking provides a reliable sign of body size and hence of prowess. Toads are not the fastest movers. Instead, majority of the time, they get from place to place by walking. Their walking style is a little bit clumsy, but they can reach speeds of up to 8 kilometers per hour. Occasionally, they intervene their walking with their short hops. They hide away during the day in dens created wherever there is a good cover, such as wood piles, under patches of bramble, or as in this case, under some shelves in a garage. They emerge at night to hunt for insects, slugs, worms, and any other prey they can swallow whole or catch by shooting out their sticky extendable tongue. The common toad goes through 3 main stages in its life cycle: egg, tadpole, and adult. The tadpoles that emerge from the eggs are fully aquatic and have gills for respiration. They proliferate, undergoing a series of metamorphic changes that transform them into adult toads. This process takes anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months, depending on the species of toad. Common toads are found all over the world and play an essential role in many ecosystems. The eggs are laid in clusters of up to 20,000 and hatch within 2 weeks. The typical lifespan of the common toad is between 5 to 10 years in wild and in captivity for 40 years. The IUCN Red List of Threatened Species considers the common toad as being the least concern. This is because it has wide distribution and is over most of its range a common species. It is not particularly threatened by habitat loss because it is adaptable and is found in deciduous and coniferous forest, scrubland meadows, parks and gardens. By buffering areas of wet woodland with newly planted trees, we can work to protect this vital habitat. You can also support the common toad by leaving part of your garden to grow wild, giving toads somewhere safe to overwinter. These legless creatures live secretive, strange existences underground and underwater. These amphibians look a mix like earthworms or snakes, and they let their children tear off their skin and eat it. Scientists still don't know much about them. Caecilians are so under the radar that they have earned the title of least known order of terrestrial vertebrates. Little we know, but have tried. Scientific name: Gymnophiona. Little much of its evolutionary history is known. The first fossil, a vertebra dated to the Paleocene, was not discovered until 1972. The earliest fossil, attributed to a stem caecilian, comes from the Jurassic period. All modern and extinct species fall under the scientific name and are Gymnophiona. But there is still much debate among scientists about this name, with many claiming the creatures should fall under Apoda. Only 9 families and under 200 species were known to exist until after 2011, when a 10th family called Cichlidae was discovered. They get around ranging from Central Africa, Southeast Asia, and southern Mexico to Argentina. These unusual creatures prefer loose soil and leaf litter in tropical forest or near rivers and streams. Caecilian lengths can go up to 1.5 meters, resemble snakes, and their weight can go up to 2.2 pounds depending upon the species. Some have short tails, while the body is cylindrical, dark brown or bluish black in color. The skin is slimy and bears grooves or ring-like markings. They have a strong skull with a pointed snout used to force their way through soil or mud. All caecilians possess a pair of tentacles located between their eyes and nostrils. These are probably used for a secondary olfactory capability, in addition to the normal sense of smell based in the nose. They also are the only amphibians to have 2 sets of jaw muscles. Caecilians' vision is limited to dark light perception, and their anatomy is highly adapted for a burrowing lifestyle. Caecilians don't have ear openings, so it is doubtful whether they can hear sounds the way we do. Scientists have found that an organ in their ear picks up vibrations from the ground to help them detect predators and prey. Researchers believe that some species have venom glands behind some teeth like rattlesnakes. This may also help them subdue their prey, making their jaws and mouths very strong. The diet of the caecilian is not well known. Mature caecilians seem to feed mostly on insects and other invertebrates found in the habitat of the respective species. Caecilians use their rows of sharp fangs to capture their prey. They swallow their prey whole like a python instead of chewing the food up to into bits. They have been observed clamping down onto earthworms and rolling like a rolling pin in the dirt underground to stun and drag the worm into the air. Scientists do not yet know what most caecilians eat, but they have witnessed captive species eating earthworms, crickets, and termites. In captured specimens, they have found bits of termites, earthworms, beetle pupae, mollusks, small snakes, frogs, lizards, small fish, larvae, insects, other invertebrates, and other caecilians in their stomachs. Some of these amphibian predators include snakes, fish, chickens, pigs, and tenrecs. But because these creatures spend most of their lives underground and many species are newly discovered, scientists do not know yet more about their natural predators. In some species, skin secretes toxins to make them unpalatable to predators. Since vocal cords are absent, therefore it does not produce any sound like most of the amphibians. The exact speed of caecilians is unknown because some move fast, whereas some move slow. Caecilians are generally not poisonous, but some of the 192 known species secrete a toxic substance from their skin to dissuade predators from capturing them. Some are believed to also have venom glands behind some of their sharp teeth. About 25% of the species are oviparous, that means egg-laying. The eggs are guarded by the females, whereas 75% are through live birth. For some species, the young caecilians are already metamorphosed when they hatch. Others hatch as larvae. One of the most interesting things about their reproduction and birth is how some mothers feed their young. The mothers grow thickened layers of skin. The young use hook-like or scraper-like fangs to pull at the skin, tear it away, and eat it. Some species lay 30 to 60 eggs. Others give birth to 2 to 25 live young. Lifespan of a caecilian is up to 13 years in zoos and unknown in the wild. Of the 185 species, the IUCN presently lists, the majority are not tracked or are listed as least concern or data deficient. But 13 species are listed as decreasing in numbers. 10 are listed as stable, 3 are near threatened, 4 are vulnerable, 10 are endangered, and 1 is critically endangered. That critically endangered species is Mount Oku caecilian of Cameroon, Africa. Caecilians are generally assumed to be rare and often confused with snakes, but now you people won't get confused. The most common amphibian, which can be seen easily during rainy season near our ponds, canals, or marshes, making creaking sounds, are one of the most beautiful, colorful, and prominent amphibian species. It might look creepy and slimy, but is one of the important part of our ecosystem. Scientific name Rana Temporaria. Although a larger group can also be called a colony, a group of frogs of the same age range, a cohort, and a group of males, a chorus. Old English Fraga Frog, a diminutive of frosk, forsks, frogs, frog, probably literally hopper. The Latin word for it is initiative of croaking. The earliest full fossil record of a modern frog is of Sanyan-lichan, which lived 125 million years ago and had all modern frog features, but bore 9 presacral vertebrae instead of the 8 of modern frogs. Frog fossils have been found on all continents, including Antarctica. There are 3 subspecies of the common frog: Rana Temporaria, Rana honorati, and Rana palmata. Rana Temporaria is the most common subspecies of this frog. Common frogs live a solitary life in damp places near ponds or marshes or in long grass. They are normally active for much of the year, only hibernating in the coldest months. In the most northern extremities of their range, they may be trapped under ice for up to 9 months of the year, but recent studies have shown that in these conditions they may be relatively active at temperatures close to freezing. The average mass is 22.7 grams. The female is usually slightly larger than the male. The adult common frog has a body length of 6 to 9 centimeters. Frogs are cold-blooded animals. Common frogs metamorphose through 3 distinct developmental life stages: aquatic larva, terrestrial juvenile, and adult. They have corpulent bodies with a rounded snout, webbed feet, and long hind legs adapted for swimming in water and hopping on land. They are generally a shade of olive green or brown, with a dark patch behind the eyes. Frogs often have bands of darker striping on the back legs. Many individuals have irregular dark markings on the back, but coloration is extremely variable. Yellow, pink, red, orange, and black individuals are often reported. The common frog is solitary for most of the year. It is most active at night and usually stays hidden during the daylight hours. Depending on the local climate, the frog may stay active throughout most of the year or hibernate for the winter months. Frogs hibernating underwater are able to spend long periods of time without resurfacing by taking in oxygen through their skin. Breeding. As soon as the common frog emerges from hibernation, mating takes place. This can be as early as February or as late as June. The frog tends to return to its natal pond. The males are first to reach the breeding sites. The males wrestle with each other and try to attract the females by producing the loudest croaks. When the female enters the water to spawn, the male climbs on her back and grasps her with his front legs, kicking away any competitors. The frogs stay paired like this until the female has laid her eggs and the male has fertilized them with his sperm. Each female releases roughly 1,000 to 2,000 small black jelly-coated eggs that float in large clumps close to the surface of the water. Depending on local weather conditions, the eggs can take from 2 to 4 weeks to hatch. 10 to 15 weeks later, after hatching, the tadpoles metamorphose into small froglets. Common frogs are carnivorous. so feed on a variety of invertebrate prey, including slugs and snails, which makes them especially popular with gardeners. Despite their wide mouths, frogs drink by absorbing water through their skin and swallow using their eyes. They retract them into the head to help push food down their throat. When they molt, they usually eat the skin as it is a valuable source of nutrition. Frogs make attractive meals for a vast array of wildlife, so they are vulnerable to predators on the ground, underwater, and from above. Their predators include small mammals, lizards and snakes, the common frog, our most familiar amphibian, is no longer quite so common due to shrinking habitats and man-made developments, lack of habitat management, and disease. In Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the common frog is therefore protected by law from trade and sale. Garden ponds are increasingly important for common frogs and many populations in suburban area depending on them. These help to compensate for losses in the UK countryside, where ponds have decreased by a third in the last century to under 500,000. They make a specific noise called as croak, particularly by the males during mating season. The average top speed of frogs approximates at 10 miles per hour on land, which represents the speed that a frog may reach while hopping or jumping at full momentum, although this figure does vary between frog species. Frogs are very social and will come together routinely in groups, especially during the breeding season. In fact, frogs are born into the world in groups and spend most of their development with other frogs. And some species of frogs lay huge amount of eggs at any one time. Some have been known to lay as many as 30,000 at one time. That's a lot of eggs and potential offspring. These collective groups of eggs are known as frog spawn. While not all of these eggs will hatch and develop into tadpoles, there is a collective group that will, and those tadpoles will stay together too, at least until they start to develop into froglets. While they are young, a group of frogs will swim together in schools. When adult, they live a solitary lifestyle. Common frogs are not poisonous. They do not have the special poison glands like some of the other species in the Amazon have. However, all frogs can carry viral or bacterial diseases such as salmonella. Male frogs make a low purring sound in the breeding season to attract females, which are largely silent. Their spawn is laid in freshwater in clumps. A group of eggs, called as spawn, contain up to 2,000 eggs. 5 years in wild and 10 years in captivity. The common frog is listed as a species of least concern on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. Common frogs are susceptible to a number of diseases, including Rana virus and the parasitic fungus Batrachochytrium dendrobatitis, which has been implicated in extinctions of amphibian species around the world. Loss of habitat and the effect of these diseases has caused the decline of populations across Europe in recent years. Frogs are everywhere, yet we don't pay much attention to them. It would benefit us if we know some of the basic details about the creatures that surround us every day. They are very small four-legged creatures, always confusing onlookers to think that they are lizards in the wild. They are shy, nocturnal species and spend most of their time hiding. Yet, these beautiful amphibians are found in different colors across the world. Scientific name: Pleurodelainae. They live a solitary lifestyle except during breeding season. They are shy and prefers to stay out of sight. Nude babies that come out of eggs are called tadpoles. It grows into the terrestrial form, and this juvenile nude is called an eft. The Old English name of the animal was epheta, resulting in Middle English eft. The initial N was added to form neft by the early 15th century. The Pacific newts Taricha and the Eastern newts Notothalamus, with together 7 species, are the only representatives in North America, while most diversity is found in the Old World. In Europe and the Middle East, the group's likely origin, 8 genera with roughly 30 species are found, with the ribbed newts extending to North Africa. Newts form one of the 3 subfamilies in the family Salamandridae, aside Salamandrinae and Salamandrininae. They comprise most extant species in the family, roughly 100, which are classified in 16 genera. These animals live in Europe, Asia, North Africa, and North America. There are groups of them that live in specific regions. For instance, Eastern newts live in the eastern part of North America. These animals include the red-spotted, the broken striped, the central, and the peninsula newt. The peninsula newt only lives on the Florida peninsula. Different types of these animals have different habitats. Some spend more time on land than others. Eastern newts live in marshes, lakes, creeks, and ponds. Others, like the alligator newt that lives in Japan, lives in swamps, grasslands, and forests. Generally, they are 3 to 4 inches in length with 10 to 50 grams of weight. These animals have a long body and tail, as well as 4 short legs with 4 toes. Their features makes them look like a cross between frog and a lizard. Different types of these animals display different color patterns. A northern crested newt has a brown body with a yellow-orange belly. Adult red-spotted newts have yellow-green skin featuring red spots. The palmate newt has brown skin with dark spots paired with a yellow or orange belly. The animal's webbed feet and paddle-like tail help it to swim around in its watery habitat. Interestingly, the animal has the ability to breathe on land as well as underwater. While the animal is in the tadpole stage, it has gills to breathe underwater. An adult has lungs that allow it to breathe on land. Plus, an adult can take in oxygen through its skin while underwater. However, it does have to come up for air every few minutes. Newts have the ability to regenerate limbs, eyes, spinal cords, hearts, intestines, and upper and lower jaws. The diet of these amphibians varies from species to species. They are carnivorous but mostly feed on invertebrates. Though some specialize in specific prey, most feed on just about anything that they can catch and swallow. Some common prey items include worms, flies, insect larvae, beetles, snails, tadpoles, spiders, slugs, and more. Interestingly, many species also eat their skin after they shed. Animals that prey on these animals include birds, fish, larger amphibians, foxes, and snakes. Many a times, these predators are more likely to eat the eggs or young larvae instead of full-grown adults. Adults prevent themselves from being preyed on. They camouflage their green or brown body with its muddy environment as a defense. Newts are threatened by habitat loss, fragmentation, and pollution. Several species are endangered. In some regions, water pollution is a threat to these animals. Newt mainly communicate by chemical and visual cues, but they also rely on low-frequency sounds. Their sounds are barely audible, but yes, they have vocal communication as well. They move with a speed of 30 miles per hour. No social behavior is observed ever because they live a solitary lifestyle. Newts are not potentially dangerous, but their skin is toxic to protect themselves from their predators. Only garter snakes have evolved and become resistant to the poison released by these animals. This toxin can be a real problem if ingested and cannot be absorbed topically. So humans should handle them with care, as the toxins may get into the body if they come into contact with bruises or cuts. Breeding season and courtship behavior varies from species to species. After mating, most females deposit eggs onto underwater grasses or other vegetation. The young hatch as larvae after about 3 weeks. Like frogs, young newts metamorphose by slowly growing legs and lungs. A female can have as many as 400 eggs as its clutch size. Average lifespan of a newt is 2 to 15 years. Some of them in captivity can live as long as 20 years. Though the exact population is unknown, its official conservation status is least concern. That is, their population is stable. Now, after knowing about newts, hoping you people won't confuse salamanders with newts. With a range of bright colors, yellows, oranges, reds, greens, blues, poison dart frogs aren't just big show-offs either. Those colorful designs tell potential predators, "I am toxic. Don't eat me." These frogs are considered one of Earth's most toxic or poisonous species. Let's learn about it. Scientific name of poison dart frog is Dendrobatidae. Group name is Army. Their name comes from the fact that indigenous Amazonian groups use the poison from several species of the frog to make poison darts. There are over 170 species and 13 genera of poison dart frogs. Although collectively known as poison dart frogs, only 4 species in the genus Philobates were documented as used to poison blow dart tips. Some species which are plain are non-poisonous. Dart frogs live primarily in rainforests where there is plenty of moisture for them to access so they can keep their skin wet. These frogs are mostly terrestrial, which means they live on the ground, but there are few species that live up in the trees. Most species hide and hunt for small prey among the leaf litter on the forest floor, where it is dark and damp. Poison dart frogs can be found in tropical, humid environment in Central and South America. They are most commonly found in tropical rainforests. These frogs are native to Nicaragua, Bolivia, Guyana, Costa Rica, Panama, Brazil, Peru, Colombia, French Guiana, Ecuador, Suriname, and Venezuela. They have also been introduced to Hawaii, but they are not a native species. The size of the poison dart frog is 1.5 to 6 centimeters and they weigh about 28 grams. There are approximately 170 species of frogs considered poison dart frogs, and they come in large variety of shapes, sizes, colors and patterns. The poisonous species are equipped with bright colors and bold patterns to warn predators of their toxicity, but not all of these frogs are poisonous. Many species have dull or camouflage colors and have little to no toxins in their skin. The color variety ranges from black, brown, tan, and muddy green in the less poisonous to bright yellow, blue, red, orange, and bright green in the highly toxic species. Their skin can be mottled with solid bars, spots, stripes, and light dapples. They are poisonous, not venomous. This means that they do not inject their toxins into others like snakes. They instead have to be consumed or licked. Toxins are stored in the glands under the skin, with the toxin being secreted through pores. When stressed, a frog may secrete large amounts of toxins all at once. The degree of poison depends upon the intensity of bright colors. Specifically, alkaloids from arthropods accumulate and are secreted through the frog's skin. Batrachotoxin prevents nerve impulses from transmitting the signal to relax muscles, causing heart failure. There are no antidotes for poison dart frog exposure. Theoretically, death would occur within 3 minutes. However, there are no published reports of human deaths from poison dart frog poisoning. The frog has special sodium channels, so it is immune to its own poison. Poison dart frogs feed upon a number of small insects. Those species that are not highly toxic do not have to prey on specific types of insects and have a much more varied diet than the more poisonous species. Their most common prey includes ants, termites, small beetles, and centipedes. Fire-bellied snake is the only predator of dart frog because it has acquired tolerance of dart venom. The frogs face three major threats: habitat loss, collection for the pet trade, and death from fungal diseases like chytridiomycosis. Zoos that keep poison dart frogs often treat them with an antifungal agent to control the disease. Poison dart frogs are alarmingly threatened by the illicit pet trade. Though protected by law, they are smuggled illegally, then condemned to an unnatural life in a small aquarium for human amusement. 90% of exported poison dart frogs die in transport. The pet trade is also responsible for the spread of a fungus that has decimated poison dart frogs. The greatest disease caused loss of biodiversity, both in plants and animals, in recorded history. Poison dart frogs communicate with a wide variety of sounds to attract mates, declare territories, and express distress. Most male poison dart frogs have vocal sacs that work as resonating chambers. Different species of poison dart frogs have different languages. Poison dart frogs have a speed of around 16 kilometers per hour. Dart frogs are quite social animals and can frequently be found in pairs or small groups. While they live in close proximity, male frogs will wrestle one another for optimal territories, and females will battle over choice egg-laying locations. During courtships, these frogs will caress one another using their front legs and their chins. Poison dart frogs are diurnal, which means they are active during the day. This is quite an unusual trait in frogs, as most species are active at night. Their diurnal activity keeps the frogs from being eaten because their colors can be best seen in the sunlight. Once they have found an acceptable mate, breeding occurs. After mating, the female finds a dark and damp location to lay her eggs. She will lay between 1 and 30 eggs at the base of a bromeliad leaf, in the crook of a tree, in a small puddle, or in a small hole in the bark of a tree. Courtship can last several hours and involves a mating dance of mutual stroking and cleaning of the leaves. Both parents must work to protect the eggs from ants and keep them moist. After hatching, the parents of many species will carry their tadpoles on their backs to a water source. Females will lay 1 to 40 eggs. The average lifespan of a poison dart frog is 3 to 15 years. Many poison dart frogs now appear on the endangered species list as deforestation and human infrastructure projects continue to encroach on their natural habitat. Many species have recently experienced chytrid disease and collection for the pet trade. Some are listed as threatened or endangered as a result. Zoos have tried to counteract these diseases by treating captive frogs with an antifungal agent that is used to cure athlete's foot in humans. If you are ever planning to go Amazon for a wildlife trip and encounter dart frogs, then never miss these interesting facts told about the poison dart frogs. Salamanders are amphibians that look like a cross between lizard and frog. They have legs and tails of a lizard and mouth of a frog. An ancient myth says that salamanders were born within fire. So is it true or still a myth? Let's catch on this video. The scientific name is Plethodontide or Lungless Salamanders. The family name Pletho means numerous and dont means teeth, refers to the massive clusters of teeth. Plethodontidae are estimated to have split from their sister group Amphibians around Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary and to have diversified during the Paleogene. The origin of the family is North America, with the oldest of the European members of the family known from the Middle Miocene of Slovakia. There are at least 656 salamander species, with 475 near threatened or worse. According to the IUCN, the family Plethodontidae consists of 2 extant subfamilies and about 478 species divided among these genera, making up the majority of known salamander species. Langlas salamanders live in forests, woodlands, streams, springs and caves. They thrive in wooded mountain areas. Some species live in deserts that receive fewer than 10 inches of rainfall each year. Others live in rainforests. Many species live in trees, all or part of the time. They are found in North America, Mexico, and Southern Europe. Salamanders weigh about 118 to 199.5 grams and are 2.5 to 35.5 centimeters in height. All adult plethodontids have 4 toes, with the forelimbs having 4 fingers. Several physical characteristics such as the darker skin color, slimy mucous body membrane, and disappearance of several cranial bones also help to identify the group. However, there is so much variation within the family that it is difficult to find common characteristics that would lead a casual observer to identify a plethodontid. Tails can be put up to double the length of the body. The head is designed for digging and wedging beneath rocks and in stream beds. Some salamanders have a long tongue that may be flicked quickly to grab food. Lungless salamanders that dwell in caves do not have eyes or color, and their limbs and snouts may be unusually shaped. Other species begin as larvae, but as they develop, eyes vanish, their eyelids fuse together, and their skin loses its color. Scientists have discovered a huge number of tiny salamanders, mostly in the Lungless salamander family. The majority of these slender species spend their whole lives on land, and many of them are quite reclusive. New species are being found at an alarming rate. Dusky salamanders usually are darker on the back. Poisonous Salamanderidae members are all toxic, with either poisonous skin or glands that release poison when threatened. In general, the most poisonous skin secretions are found in terrestrial species such as Taricha and efts of some aquatic species. Why are the names so? Because there are no lungs or gills in terrestrial lungless salamanders. Thus, respiration or gas exchange occurs mostly via the epidermis. They breathe through their skin and the mucous membranes of their mouth and throat, which must always be moist in order to absorb oxygen. Lunglessness is considered to have developed as a response to living in moving water. Larvae are tiny, and lungs tend to serve as air sacs, causing the salamander to float in the water. This would cut them off from their food source and endanger their existence. A number of features distinguish the Plethodontids from other salamanders. Most significantly, they lack lungs, conducting respiration through their skin, and the tissues lining their mouths. Mucus coating on damp skin makes them difficult to grasp, and the slimy coating may have an offensive taste or be toxic. When attacked by a predator, a salamander may position itself to make the main poison glands face the aggressor. Often these are on the tail, which may be waggled or turned up and arched over the animal's back. Lungless salamanders eat small crustaceans and insects, but sometimes eat worms. Larger species sometimes eat smaller species. Lungless salamanders capture prey with an explosive flicking of their tongue. Predators to lungless salamanders include birds, mammals like raccoons, snakes, fish, and even the salamanders. Along with tail dropping, some species are also able to secrete noxious chemical that makes them complete unappetizing to eat. Some species of salamanders are intolerant to habitat destruction and pollution. Salamanders are usually considered to have no voice and do not use sound for communication in the way that frogs do. However, in the mating system, they communicate by pheromone signaling. Lungless salamanders commonly live close together in large numbers and typically are the most numerous vertebrates. Lungless salamanders are secretive by day and active by night. They have small home ranges. The only ones that make seasonal travels are the few species that breed in water. Lungless salamanders that live in streams are more active than land-dwelling species, but most species can move quickly when disturbed and they are good at escaping capture. Some lungless salamanders are aggressive and fight to defend their territory. Mating behavior in all lungless salamanders is complicated, and mating can take many hours. More than half of the species are completely terrestrial and deposit enormous eggs that they bury in gaps beneath rocks or logs, moss mats, moss balls hanging in plants, trees. These species' eggs hatch weeks after they are deposited, and the young resemble tiny adults. The eggs of the most lungless salamanders develop directly into miniature versions of the adult without an intervening larva stage. Some water-dwelling larvae take months to 3 years to metamorphosis, which involves the closing of the gill slits and loss of structures such as gills and tail fins that are not required as adults. At the same time, eyelids develop, the mouth becomes wider, a tongue appears, and teeth are formed. Some Plethodon species spend their whole lives as larvae. Most female species protect their eggs, which ranges from 13 to 40. The lifespan of these amphibians varies depending on the species. Salamanders live for around 20 years on an average. Some salamander species may survive for up to 50 years. The lifespan of the same salamander species in the wild and in captivity may even differ. The World Conservation Union (IUCN) lists one species of Lungless salamanders as extinct, 31 as critically endangered, 83 as endangered, 54 as vulnerable, and 36 as low risk or near threatened. In the end, it may be better for all of us to learn about these amazing amphibians and admire them from their proper home in the wild. One of the most common amphibian, which is found all over North America. These little creatures are generally overlooked by people in spite of being populous. So let's just stay tuned with this video in order to learn some special traits about this organism. The scientific name, Anaxyrus americanus. A group of toads is commonly called as knot or nest, but sometimes they lead solitary lifestyle. Their young ones are called as tadpoles. While the name Americanus simply refers to the region in the world where these toads are found, Anaxyrus is a Greek word that represents a king or a chief. Anaxyrus americanus and other North American species of Anaxyrus are thought to be descended from an invasion of toads from South America prior to the formation of the Isthmus of Panama land bridge, presumably by means of rafting. It is divided into three subspecies: the Eastern American toad, Anaxyrus americanus; the dwarf American toad, Anaxyrus A. Charles Smithy; and the rare Hudson Bay toad. This toad is found all across America, from the east coast to the west coast, and its habitat extends north into Canada and south into Mexico. They can be found in various habitats, from forest to green lands to urban areas. They range in the size from 2 to 4 inches long and weigh less than 1 pound. American toads have short legs and stout bodies. However, one of the interesting facts of this specific creature is the warts that produce a milky liquid that is highly poisonous. Often red or yellow warts decorate the toad's thick skin, serving as one of their main adaptations to protect them from the predators that hunt them. Most of the time, American toads have brown skin, but there are some variations in their markings. Some toads may show light olive or grey patches along the tough skin, which can be as light as yellow hue or dark as black. The coloring may change as humidity and temperature of their environment change, though stress can also be a factor. American toads have 4 toes that are located on each front leg and 5 toes along the hind legs, though each set is connected with webbing. The pupils of these toads are oval-shaped and are black with a golden outline. The males have dark colored throats and are usually black or brown, but the females are many lighter, featuring a white throat instead. Females also tend to be larger than their male counterparts. Toads can inflate their bodies to appear larger and more threatening. If these defenses fail, the toad's final line of defense is its ability to shed its skin. This process, called autotomization, allows the toad to escape from predators while simultaneously confusing them with its discarded skin. The American toads do not wait for the prey to come to them and can stick out their tongues to pounce on their prey and catch it. These toads use their front legs when they have to eat larger chunks of food. They grab hold of their food and push it into their mouths. They're also able to tolerate changes in temperature and moisture levels, making them well suited for living in today's changing world. The parotid glands of American toads secrete bufo toxin, a poisonous substance meant to make the toad unpalatable to potential predators. Bufo toxin is a mild poison in comparison to that of the other poisonous toad and frogs, but it can irritate human eyes and mucous membranes, and is dangerous to smaller animals when ingested. Toads have a voracious appetite. They will eat just about anything they can fit into their mouths. Insects, spiders, earthworms, and even other small amphibians all make up the diet of the American toad. They will also eat berries and fruits if they are available. In captivity, American toads can be fed crickets, mealworms, and waxworms. The major predator of these toads is the snake. Eastern hognose snakes particularly enjoy a diet that is rich in toads. Some snakes are even immune to the poisonous glands of these toads, making them even easier to indulge in. When the toads encounter predators who are immune to the poisonous liquid they produce, they urinate on themselves to make a less attractive meal for the predator. Major threat to this species is human activity and involvement of invasive species. American toads have very noticeable calls. They make long, thrilling sounds lasting between 4 to 20 seconds each. The males use these sounds to attract the female toads for breeding. While they are often seen hopping around on land, American toads spend most of their time in ponds and streams, where they hunt for insects and other small prey. They are nocturnal creatures, and during the day they can be found hiding under rocks or logs. When they are threatened, they inflate their bodies and release a poisonous substance from their skin. This behavior discourages predators, but it can also be deadly to humans if the toad is mishandled. Although they may not be the most attractive creatures, American toads play an essential role in keeping insect population under control. They are an essential part of many ecosystems. During the mating season, their calls become louder, constant, and more frantic. When these calls are made, the throats of the male toads puff out like balloons. However, this is not the only way that the American toads communicate. Some of them also use body postures, chemical cues, and touch to communicate. About 4,000 to 8,000 eggs are laid in 2 rows. The eggs are known to foster at high temperatures. After that, the baby toads are born. Talking about lifespan, they can live more than 10 years if taken care of, and usually do not survive more than a year or two in the wild. The population of these toads is not known. It is believed that they do not have special conservation status. Their population tends to fluctuate greatly, driven by how well the young survive. They fall in the least concerned category and continue to thrive in the most environments and most of their ranges. Fortunately, you may be able to catch a glimpse of this interesting toad species in everyday activities by understanding their behaviors and searching within their preferred habitats or regions.